This video will show you how to replace the front outside door handle on a Ford Transit-250. This will be mounted to your front door. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on replacing our front outside door handle. With the door open, looking inside this area, you can see that we have a small black cover. Go ahead and remove that. For this, I'm using a trim tool. You can also use a small flat blade screwdriver. Once you have it out, just a quick inspection. I typically do like to reuse these if possible. Now, if you are looking deep inside this area, it's going to be fairly difficult to see, but there is a small T20 torque screw. We're going to carefully start loosening that. As we're loosening, we're holding on to the outside door handle bezel. We'll give it a wiggle and pull it out and away. So as I mentioned, I'm using a T20 Torx for this. I'm going to carefully make my way in here to that screw. Once I start unscrewing, I'm holding onto the bezel, I'm wiggling and pulling it out and away. I do have some movement here. Loosened it just enough that I could remove that bezel. Now we can finish removing the handle as well. Let's take hold of that handle. We can start pulling it out. We're going to slide it through this large port here. You should feel it dislodge. Now we can pull out the other portion of it as well. There it is, friend. Now before we get ready to install our handle, we have to take a quick look at the door. During the removal process, one of my seals did come dislodged. The other ones over here, we can pull that out of place as well. If you need to, you could carefully pry it out of place, but typically you can take hold of it by hand. Just a quick inspection of those, we'll set them aside. Let's continue on with cleaning the door in the mounting areas. So for this, I just have a clean rag. I like to use some glass cleaner. It's your door, clean it as well as you deem fit. Essentially, we're just making sure nothing's damaged in a way that's going to hinder the ability to install our new handle. Now it's time to start our installation. We're starting with our two seals. As far as the seals, you want to make sure you have them in the proper orientation. The inboard side towards the door will have a couple locking tabs. Let's start with the smaller area here. We'll make sure we have it in the proper orientation. I'm going to start sliding this in and we'll press in on our locking tabs. This should be held in place. Repeat the process for the next. So looking at this one, we have our locking tabs. You can tell that this will have to be slid in, so that's where I'm starting. On the outboard side here, line it up. I'm pressing it in. Now at this point, we can take the rest of the locking tabs. We'll lock this down as well. Now it's time for installation of that outside door handle. Let's start with this area here. We're looking at this large hooked area. If you are looking inside of the door, you're going to find that there's a metal lever that this has to make its way behind. Now for the beginning of the installation of this, I'm actually starting with the smaller hooked area. We're coming inside of our small port. Now we'll start swinging this towards the door. We're going to start pressing this in. As I mentioned, that hooked area needs to fit along the other side of that lever. It's pretty much impossible to see in there. Now that I have it around that lever, I'm going to take this and I'm pulling it towards what would be the front of the door or the front of the vehicle. Before I go any further with my bezel to lock this in position, let's go ahead and test the functionality of the handle itself. Pull out, it should retract. Now if this does not retract, that hooked area is not along the other side of the lever the way that it needs to be. Readjust and we'll continue on. We've tested the functionality, it works as it should. Let's go ahead and slide the bezel in place. For this, we're lining it up with the port on the door, press it in as far as possible. While holding it flush with the door, let's continue on with our T20 Torx screw. For this, just lightly bottom it out. You should not have to tighten this to the point that we cause any damage. Okay, right there is bottomed out. Just take it a tiny bit further. That bolt is only squeezing up against the bezel. We have our protective cover. Line this up. Press it in, audible click. Now before I shut the door, I always like to make sure I test the door handle functionality first. For this, I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch extension. The extension is going to act as the striker which is attached to the body of the vehicle. Now if I was to shut the door, that would go along the latch area here and the striker would be deep inside. Now the door thinks that it's shut. So I'm going to take hold of the outside door handle, we'll pull on this and see if it releases while I'm holding pressure. As you can tell it does. Let's test it one more time here. It releases as it should. At this point, let's go ahead and close the door. We'll reopen it and confirm it functions as it needs to. Perfect. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. the only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.